relevant, reliable, and researched. This is Experts on Call, the show focused on delivering leading-edge news and information on today's most beneficial products and services. This is Experts on Call on AM 650.
Welcome back to the program. Nice to have you with us this evening. Our guest in studio is the owner of the BC Canine Training Center, Phil Moriarty, joining us. The Canine Training Center, by the way, just down the road from AM 650 here in Richmond. The BC Canine Training Center is located at the foot of Number 3 Road, below Steveston Highway, right by the river. The address there on Number 3 Road is 13800 Number 3 Road, right beside the water. If you're driving down to the BC Canine Training Center and you get to the river, you've missed it. But only by one driveway, Phil.
You will find out whether you swim.
That's right. And we're talking, of course, all sorts of summer topics with dogs. And we'll talk about training and some of the courses offered during the summer by the BC Canine Training Center is second, Phil. But by way of some of the tips and you've been passing along for summer and how to most enjoy our dogs and the summer all at once, certainly a lot of us plan to travel. And the main ways of getting around are clearly by air or by land, one way or another. Airlines are pretty cut and dried, aren't they? They have their rules. Your dog, if you want to travel with this airline, here's what you have to do. And if you don't do it, we're not taking your dog. Next. And that's about it, isn't it?
And a lot of that is built on their safety too.
Sure.
So that they'll have certain requirements. Sure.
So the dog, on an aircraft travels in the baggage compartment, do they not? Where it's much cooler than in the rest of the aircraft.
Okay.
I'm just no, but what I'm thinking about is the heat would be not an issue at 30,000 feet if you're in the baggage compartment.
Yeah, well, the airlines have protocols that they follow.
Sure.
And to the extent that they're not going to take an animal that is going to be harmed by the time it gets to the destination.
Exactly. Yeah.
I can't really speak for what their specific protocols are.
But they've been doing it. That's right. They've been doing it long enough now, and most animals seem to arrive problem-free, all things considered. So that leaves the land option. Now, either we're going to travel with Rover in the car or in the RV. Now, if the RV, Phil, there are two types. There's the pull trailer type with the pickup truck up front, and then there's the motor home type with the thing built in around the driving area. So if you've got an RV and you've got a dog, talk to us about where the animal should be while you're cruising.
Well, if the dog is in an RV that is separate from the cab,
like a pull trailer,
okay. or even a large RV, but that the dog is in the back, but you don't have any heat or any air conditioning in the back.
Okay.
If the dog's in there for extended periods of time and the generator's not working and the air conditioning's not working back there, it can get pretty hot.
Right. So
you want to frequently check to see that the dog's all right. Should have plenty of water, obviously.
Right.
And you can get splash-proof dishes and that sort of thing. But especially if it's in a pull trailer, though, where it's separate from the vehicle,
right.
Out of sight, out of mind.
Sure.
Let's push on to the next stop, which is another 150 miles away.
Right.
In 30 degrees, and the dog's in the back, and the generator's not working. So, that's not going to be a good environment for the dog.
Again, just common sense. A little common sense goes a long way, especially on summer vacation.
Right, and a lot of people don't take the dogs on summer vacations, and so they'll bring them to the center, and we can board them.
Exactly, and that's a nice segue there, Phil, because I was going to get to the training and the boarding and all of that stuff, and you're absolutely right. Some people have decided this summer, like they did in previous years, let's just park the pooch for a week and go somewhere, well, maybe not necessarily pet-friendly. We need a break, too. So we're gonna find a boarding facility like the BC Canine Training Center. When we start looking, I suppose we're doing this for the first time, and we got the dog, we're fine. Dog's pretty well adjusted, sort of young animal, but we've never boarded it before. So any tips aside from check my place out, which is fair, any tips just in terms of general orientation?
Whether it's my place or any place else, some of the things you want to look for is the cleanliness. You want to make sure that the place is clean, make sure it's licensed, and certainly you want to, inspect it. Go and take a look. If they don't want to show you through, then to see what the facilities for the dog is, where the runs are,
right?
What kind of exercise the dog's going to get, and what kind of water situation they have and cooling for the summertime, then you might want to look elsewhere. Well,
typically we do our homework online these days. We Google dog boarding Metro Vancouver, and boom, up comes BC Canine Training Center and a whole bunch of other options. And you're suggesting check them out online. That's a good place to do homework. But if you're narrowing your search down, and you've got one, maybe two options, go take a look, for crying out loud, before booking Fido for a week or two.
Oh, sure. I mean, the picture you may see online might not be representative of the actual place.
All too true, I'm afraid. You can make the internet can make pretty much any place look like
good.
Oh man, whoa!
Yeah.
Oh, I bet you that's too expensive for us. And then you get there and go, really?
Yeah. but you also want to check to see that all of the dogs that are in there are required to have all their shots up to date.
Right, which is a requirement at the BC Canine Training Center.
Yeah, and it should be anywhere you go. I mean, you don't want to be bringing something into a kennel, and you don't want to have your dog at a kennel, and some other dog comes in and transfers something to it.
Is it reasonable when you're checking out a boarding arrangement for your dog while you're away on holidays? Is it reasonable to ask, again, this is a fairly high energy dog. She likes to get out and run around a whole bunch. Are you going to make sure that this dog is well exercised while I'm away?
Well, that's one of the things that you want to check out when you're looking at a place.
Yeah.
They may say yes, but what kind of facilities do they have to be able to accommodate that?
Can I see the runs, please?
Exactly. Yeah. So we've probably got 10 runs that are big enough to hold 6 or 8 dogs in a run at a time.
Right.
We don't like to put too many more than that in a run at a time. But, a lot of it is you could have a high-energy dog that gets along with other high-energy dogs, and those dogs are going to run like crazy.
Sure.
And play. Well, they need room to do that. And so, out of the acreage, they'll have lots of room to be able to run. Some dogs are compatible with other dogs, and other dogs are not.
True.
Well, just because it's not compatible with other dogs doesn't mean that it can't interact with other dogs through an adjoining run.
Right.
Because the chain link fence in between them, they can't get at each other, but they're still going to enjoy the interaction. To the extent that dogs will enjoy interaction.
Right. Well, the threatening and the barking and the challenging is
sure. I mean, they'll
entertaining.
They'll run along the fences and talk to each other.
Oh, yeah.
So the dog's going to get the energy expenditure that's required.
Okay, and I guess it's kind of important, on the same line that you mentioned, would the boarding facility require all animals to have had their shots? I would think that there would also be some attention paid to having a veterinarian on call, on standby, at a good, reputable boarding facility.
Sure, yep.
So again, you got to ask these questions, and you can't do that online.
That's right. Well, I mean, we've got an online forum
I
that
know.
you can.
Yeah.
But
it's not as you got to see for yourself. If you're going to spend hard-earned after-tax dollars, then you might as well get good value for them.
Yeah, and if you're going to bring your dog to a kennel, typically the kennel's within the area that you're living.
Sure.
And so it's worth investing a couple of minutes to go to the facility and see whether what is on the website is actually what you're going to be seeing with your dog.
Right. And should you call for an appointment if you're interested? We're interested in boarding Rover while we go away. Can we come down? Or is the spontaneous drop-in, Phil, perhaps better from the point of view of just walking in off the street and catching everybody doing what they're supposed to be doing?
Weekdays we're 7 to 7 weekdays and 8 to 4 weekends, and anybody can come in and just take a look anytime they want.
All right, okay. Dwayne, do we need to take a break? Okay, because I want to talk about we've talked a little bit about boarding and some of the protocols and some of the conditions that people should look for and perhaps even insist upon when it comes to feeling comfortable. You want to buzz off for a nice summer holiday and you got a dog, you don't want to take the dog with you, well, then you got to feel comfortable that Fido is parked somewhere where he or she is going to be happy for a week or two, so then you can relax, forget about that, and really have a nice time while you're away.
It's a family member.
That's right. And while boarding, there may be a training opportunity as well. And we'll talk about dog training with the owner of the BC Canine Training Center after this quick timeout.
Delivering relevant and beneficial consumer information. This is Experts on Call. And there's more still ahead on AM 650.